Home edge.
That pivot there, though.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Lakers laying the 4. I like the Lakers to get off to a good start. Luka to have a massive game. If you want to, his number is going to be super high, but rightly so. He's going to go off. Austin Reeves has been playing really well for this team. You're worried about Ant Edwards roasting you from behind the arc and sinking the ship with some threes. That's certainly a possibility. A game we didn't really hit on, game 1, the Magic getting 14 points, a 14-point dog in Boston. Celtics have not done well as double-digit favorites, and I think the Magic have a pretty good defense. You look at that total; the total's comically low, and you're getting a playoff team getting 14 points. Jaylen Brown dealing with a knee issue. This number is just way too high. I think the Warriors get off to a good start. A well-rested Warriors team. Steve Kerr, if you watch his post game, pointing out how he thought it was so important that they won that first playoff game against Memphis, so they could get the rest they needed, get the vets ready to go, get Steph locked in, Draymond, Steph dealing with the hand thing. Jimmy Butler, he needs to. I don't know. He's a guy. He's got
a lot going on.
Interesting character, I'll say the least, for Jimmy Butler.
Always got to call dad around the playoffs.
Yes. Conspiracy theory, of course, Ryan is alluding to is that Jimmy Butler is secretly his dad is
testing 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1-1-2-3-4-5.
Bang the internet's wisdom.
Yeah, he's just passing it along. Do your own research, and if you do, send that research over our way. I always happy to take a look at that. And last but not least, the Bucks getting 6 points. Giannis. You're giving the best. I mean, Giannis is going to carry this team, and 6 points is a lot for the Bucks. So that'll do it for the card. Feeling really good. Nice, strong slate.
I'd like to add one more.
Sure. What else you got?
I realized I don't know if I've actually spoken this one on VSiN at all, but under 2.5 wide receivers drafted in the first round.
Oh, you're getting nice plus money too.
It's still, you can still find a plus 195. So I'm still believing. I don't think teams are trading up for receivers this year. So we'll see Golden and McMillan go in the first round. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, how does this? Who would be the third receiver that the odds are suggesting?
The Missouri kid, Burden, Ibuka out of Ohio State.
Luther Burden.
Yeah, one of those two guys probably.
Stay tuned. Of course, make sure you check out the VSiN draft show, the watch along. Get that on the VSiN Watch app. If you haven't downloaded the VSiN Watch app, what are you waiting for? Cannot leave home without it. I guess you would have it on your phone, and you're not leaving without your phone.
True.
Coming up next, wake up tomorrow with the VSiN Morning Line with our good buddy Tim Murray, 10 a.m. East. Nothing funnier than we're leaving Vegas to catch a flight out at like 6 a.m. and run into Tim coming back the other way with a cup of coffee, bright-eyed, chipper, and we're hungover from a late night show and hanging out at the Circa. Always a good time. And then after the VSiN Weekend Morning Line, you got Ready, Set, Bet starting at 1:00. Then stick around. Live bet Saturday at 4:00 East. And little bonus plug, I will be calling in 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 a.m. East on Saturday. So technically Sunday to Greg Peterson hosting Cashing Out. So I'll be talking a little NFL draft with Hoops, our buddy Hoops. I haven't talked to him in a while. Good to get in on that. So check that out as well.
Sounds like you have a date.
Yes, Saturday night, talking to Hoops about draft props. What more can you want? No, it's going to be a lot of fun and recapping some of the stuff, and maybe I find some new ones. Always looking to add some plays. Yeah, great times as always. Appreciate all our guests, including CJ Sullivan, Scott Reichel, and of course, producer Johnny doing a great job behind the glass, making us look good. And make sure you check out the Killer Cappers VSiN NBA contest. Kramer and I going head to head with some fellow sharps. That's going to be a lot of fun. So good times as always. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit us up on X at Gambling Podcast. Check out our podcast, Sports Gambling Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And of course,
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean Second Money Green. He's Ryan.
Coming for the belt, Sean.
Kramer. Let it ride.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. Look at this little face. How could you not love him?
Hamilton the Pug, Instagram star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are important. Should I go through it again?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open, don't speak with your mouth full, keep your elbows off the table. Share your things, play nice, and generally treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day, making sure they brush their teeth, is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem Sports Talk is on the iMedia One Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football, or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football. Ina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
It's time to kick back and listen to the Sports Page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark. 330-707-4202. Get in, talk sports on the Saturday morning Sports Page. Western Reserve Radio is the station you're listening to. Dave Clark. Oh, a lot to get to in the wonderful world of sports. NBA playoffs. Then obviously the draft is finally coming up. It will be Thursday. I'm going to call this the Shedeur Sanders draft. Yeah. Everybody's waiting to see what teams do. So much speculation. We'll get to it. Talk about Aaron Rodgers' little discussion with the Jets. Evidently, he's not very happy with the Jets. But, you know, they're the Jets. What do you expect? I wish Aaron Glenn all the best being head coach of that team. He's going to need it. It's a disastrous organization. I'm sorry. Anyway, last night, for those that did not stay up, I'm sure everybody watched, or the first game, Miami beat Atlanta in OT, 123-114. Basically, the Miami Heat will play the Cavaliers. And they will actually play the Cavaliers on Sunday at 7 o'clock in Cleveland. For those that are wondering, we'll get our predictions for the opening round. I think it'll be a little chalky, but there are some interesting series. Then the night game was not really much of a game. Memphis pretty much dominated Dallas, 120-106. Dallas never really in that game. Made a little run there in the second half, but never any, oh my gosh, Memphis looks like they're, going to lose this game. And then Davis gets hurt. So Dallas is out. The fans are still upset. They don't understand why the GM traded Luka Doncic. Nobody understands why. Right. Nobody would. They didn't really get much back for him. Should have got Austin Reeves and Davis, but he didn't even ask for that. He took a 32-year-old good player, great player, sometimes often injured player, Anthony Davis. And Dallas is now out. No Luka, obviously, traded him away in no playoffs. They don't get in, but Memphis gets to play OK City, the number 1 seed out in the West. OK City, obviously, some experts have them favored to win it. Have to wait and see how it plays out. But we'll get to the series because there are some interesting series out there. Some might be more interesting than what people give them credit for. Now, you might run into that this year because, everybody is pretty much saying Memphis has no shot against OK City. Miami has no shot against Cleveland. Orlando has little to no shot against Boston. Maybe the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons could be a pretty good series. Knicks not playing all that great. I think Minnesota and LA Lakers will be a good one. Mm-hmm. That's a 3-6. And then Golden State, Houston. I believe Golden State, and I don't even know if they're favored to win this series at a 7th seed, but a lot of experts think Golden State will win over Houston.
Yeah, with their experience and everything.
Yeah, it's always experience with
this. It has a lot to do when it comes to this part of the season.
Yes, and then for those that are wondering on TV how it works, we'll go through it right now. Today at 1:00, we'll get to Milwaukee at Indiana on ESPN, followed up by the LA Clippers at Denver. That's the 3:30 game on ESPN. Then follow that up with Detroit at the New York Knicks at 6. Tonight's game is Minnesota Timberwolves at the Lakers at 8:30. Then tomorrow we have Memphis at OK City at 1, ABC, Orlando at Boston, ABC 3:30. Follow that Memphis game up. Then over on TNT at 7:00, it's Miami at Cleveland, followed up at the late game 9:30, Golden State at Houston. So if you're wondering what am I going to do this weekend, well, you got basketball, Dave Clark, and plenty of it.
Oh, yeah. All day long, they got it loaded up for you.
Load up.
So get
just
your
in
popcorn
case.
ready.
Get it ready.
Couch ready. You ready to go.
Right.
Remote.
Yes. And if you get, bored, it'll be interesting to see how some of these games pan out. Of all the series, which ones would you rate as being ones that are probably most watchable? If you were to say,
I'm intrigued with Golden State and Houston, just because Golden State, you got the great players, you got the veterans, but then Houston, you know how it is. You got kids that actually don't have that playoff experience, but they act like they don't know any better. So when you got somebody like that, they just go out and play at all costs. And that could turn into a heck of a series because they're so athletic. They never stop playing. They continue coming at you. Udoka got that team on a different plane as far as thinking. So I'm looking for that one. And then if they're the underdogs, we haven't found that out yet. But if Golden State is favored to win that series as a 7th seed, now you got the young guys being disrespected. They're going to definitely feel that way. So it's going to be interesting, And you got the right guys on the team. You got Draymond Green waiting for a technical or some kind of physicality in that game. And then you got, what's our guy name on Houston, who's always a guy that loves to mess with LeBron and KD.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them. What's his name? I can't think of it now. I used to play for Memphis. He's an irritant type guy. So it's going to definitely be some fireworks, I think, in that game. Because everything becomes a lot more feisty during the playoff series. So I look for that to happen in that game. That's my first one. I think right behind that is, 2 games behind that. Lakers and Minnesota, I'm intrigued. And I'm also intrigued with a team that nobody's talking about them, but you got to watch out for the LA Clippers.
Yes.
You sleep on that because like I said last week, I never seen a guy like Kawhi Leonard who's injured, has major injuries, and then he'll sit out a long period of time and then start playing. It look like he's been playing all season long. He'd be in like mid-form, prime form. I've never seen no player like that, actually. I'm talking about over the years of all this major injury. And he'll come back and start playing. It's like he never missed a beat. And this time of year, he always comes up big. So, you got Jokic and his team, and then you got that Clipper team. And James Harden, the veteran, has really been playing.
Yeah, actually, Harden's good. I don't trust him, though, in playoffs, but he is playing pretty good.
Well, it's like the last playoff series, we just didn't have the team behind him. He actually played pretty decent. He done changed his game up instead of being that 40 points a game or whatever he'll get it if he needs to do it, but he's more of a facilitator now. He passes the ball. He looks for guys, setting them up. So, and then when he needs to score, he does it. So, that's why I see with that team is a lot better. And they also have a lot of guys that you don't think about, like Zubac, who I thought the Lakers should have never let go.
No.
You could just see it when he first started that this guy could be an asset.
He was going to be.
And he just got better and better. And he's really a a force too. So I'm looking at those series is very intriguing to me. You know, the other ones look like that, like you said, should be chalk, but you'd have to watch for maybe Memphis and OKC. OKC, a young team too. So is Memphis, but they got enough star power in Memphis to cause some issues against them if they're not ready to play.
Yeah, that's going to be, I mean, that's probably the concern. If you're OKC, they were good last year, but were bounced out early in the playoffs. Hopefully this year they've kind of learned and now go into the series pretty much the favorite, but will not get upset by a very game Memphis team.
Yeah. And that's the same thing I feel with Cleveland. They got to prove it now during this time of the season that they're big time. The Heat, they should take care of them, but any Riley-led team is always a team. You don't know what might happen with them. I don't even understand how he got the Miami Heat to the finals.
I don't either.
A few years back, him and Spoelstra.
He was
great coaching.
That was a playing game.
Yeah.
And he ended up in the finals.
And that was a team that, yes, they had Butler and Hero and all the guys, but they were injured, banged up, everything. Made it all the way through and made it to the finals. That was just unbelievable that they did that, but
right now they have the Warriors actually opened at a -200 favorite. Talking about the Rockets.
Okay.
Current line is the Warriors at -190, Rockets at +155. So it's going to be, at least if you look at this, going to be a very close series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could go 7 games.
Yeah.
Could be kind of a knockout, drag out. The other series is interesting. The Lakers are -195. The Wolves are +160. So the Lakers go into that favorite.
Mm-hmm. Another one that could be a close series.
And that could be a close series too.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Clippers and the Nuggets. They have predicted that this could be a 7-game series with the Nuggets winning 4-3.
Okay.
They have
for that to be a good one.
The opening line was the Nuggets were slight favorites at -190.
Okay.
So that looks like that's going to be one of those series. If you talk about some of these opening rounds, when you look at historically, some of them haven't been good series. But I think this year, if I'm a Cleveland Cav fan, I'm a little leery of Miami. You just said it.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler Hero last night is just unconscious.
Yeah, I know.
He just makes.
That's this type player he is too.
He's just totally unconscious.
Yeah. Yep.
I think Miami will make it an interesting series. I think Cavs win it, but I think it may be. I don't think it's going to be a 4-game sweep. I think Miami may win a game or 2 and push it to 6 games. Orlando and Boston. The only thing that always bothers me with Boston, they get infatuated with shooting 3-pointers, and they can let teams in a game. They can be up, and you've seen it. I've seen it where Boston's dominating the game, and then they fall in love and they can't make threes.
Yeah.
And they can open up the door for a team to get back in.
Right. And they're going to shoot it because I think from the percentages, they are the best shooting 3-point team in the league. So they're going to continue to put them up. That's for sure, at an enormous rate. So, but they do those times. But do they do that 3-4 games where they go shooting bad? Like, more likely not.
No.
And that's why you can see them upholding in a series like that. But against a top flight team, they're going to have to be conscious of that, because those type teams will beat you. So, but I think they'll handle Orlando.
Yeah, they should. I mean,
shouldn't be
they're
a problem.
Big favorite.
Sweep them, but we never know.
Interesting that the Magic during the regular season was 2-1 against the Celtics.
That's something.
And have gone 6-4 against them over the last 3 seasons combined, including 4 double-digit victories.
Wow. That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Well, I'm sure they should have laser focus if I'm Boston, because I don't care if that was regular season, which you just said 3 seasons.
3 seasons.
That's what we talk about in all sports.
Yeah.
I don't care what record. You got to throw records out when it comes to certain teams. It's just the matchups, the different philosophies of the team. They just fit for a certain team that might not have as good a record as you, but it's a perfect fit. You are a perfect fit for them to be beaten. And that could happen for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of I know, like I said, historically, some of these opening round series are dogs. Maybe this year we may have better series opening round, like Milwaukee Bucks and the Pacers. Looks like Damian Lillard may be back. He's in question. He has recovered from a blood clot.
Right.
Indicate there is reports that indicate fair amount of optimism that he will return. But obviously, we'll wait and see. Giannis will obviously be there. Mm-hmm. So if you look at him, last year, Giannis missed the series because of an injury. Lillard only played 4 of the 6 games. That was last year. So this year, it looks like they both will be back playing, and it will be, I think, a very interesting matchup with the Indiana Pacers.
Right. That's
another fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Knicks taking on the Pistons, and obviously all of the naysayers are out there that are already talking about Coach Thibodeau for the Knicks being on the proverbial hot seat, that the Knicks have to obviously beat the Pistons.
They have to. I think he's done if they don't.
If they don't beat the Pistons, or at least the hot seat will be burning, and does he survive?
Yeah, it might burn up, because that's one thing about him is if it doesn't facilitate wins enough, then it's almost like he wears his welcome out in his philosophy that he uses. And it's a hard, tough philosophy. So, they usually go another way, and bring some infusion of new players and different things like that. But that's the only thing with Thibodeau. That happens if things are not going well, and sometimes it can set your franchise back. So we'll see what happened. But I do think they have to win this series against Detroit, and that's not an easy win. It's not one of those you go look at the bulletin board and just put a check mark in there, because that's teams is another one. They don't know any better. They're young, a lot of talent, and they don't stop.
Bickerstaff Jr. is their coach.
Yeah.
Coached the Cavs last year, and the Cavs moved on, but Bickerstaff, which I thought was a very good coach.
Yeah, I did too. So, I mean, it worked out for everybody. Atkinson doing a great job with Cleveland. Yeah. He goes to Detroit, who was down and out, even with the young players. You've seen some talent, you've seen some spurt, but he done put it together, and they are definitely a fun team to watch.
Yeah, it worked out for the Detroit Pistons because they really got the coach that they needed and wanted, and he has really got that team. He turned it around from last year. So I think it'll be a very interesting group. Playoffs this year. A lot of good matchups, I think. Again, Minnesota and LA, the Lakers, I think is going to be an interesting matchup. I think the Lakers should survive, but Minnesota might, take them 6-7 games.
Yeah, they could.
Golden State, Houston could be another one. Again, the coach, very underrated. Maybe one of the best coaches in the league.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was a guy that done with Boston, and we seen he took them to a certain height, and he goes to get Houston, who was below the team. I mean, they were down there, and he just brought them right out the rubbish, as they say. And
he's done an unbelievable job.
Yeah.
As a head coach. He's I know they had off the court issues.
Right.
But as a coach on the court, he's a very good, one of the best coaches in the league.
Yep. And that's what I like to stay focused on. because we're not privy to a lot of the things that's off the court. We get it, and a lot of our reporting is hearsay.
Piecemeal, right?
Yeah,
And
so we
don't know what.
Absolutely,
we don't know the depth of what we're being told, because historically we see the news this day and age, but you get 10% of what's happening until you get the whole story. That's why we just steer clear of it. I like to just focus on what is going on in the court.
Right.
He's a great coach, gets the teams up. They play well. They play they can win. He's got a very young game Houston team, second seed in the West.
Right.
This is going to be a great matchup with Golden State.
And now you'll see it reported a lot, as you just have said. What a great coach! What he's doing when he first came back on the scene, and you could see he was starting to do some things. He didn't get that publicity like that because they're looking at the off-court things, all these things that happen in the front office, blah blah blah. And it's sad because they'll just pencil out what a guy's done under the profession that he does.
Totally.
That's why I like in football now. Before, you would never hear of our guy, O.J. Simpson, at all.
Oh, no.
But now, lately, they starting to say, and they start talking about the greatest backs, starting to put him back in the conversation. Well, he should have never been taken out of the conversation because we got nothing to do with off the field. But on that field, we've seen it with our own eyes. There's no question.
He had like we talked about last week, OJ, when you look at those 5 years there.
Yeah, I mean,
from
nobody in history has ever had
72
like
to 76.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no back ever ran like
that's what they reported.
Ever.
Yep, they was good talking about it. All the backs. They said no back ever in the history of the NFL
ever put five
not together like that.
Not like that.
And 2 of the seasons, he actually had no training camp. The one, I think it was the year that he rushed for 1,800 yards.
Yeah, there was a strike in 74, I believe.
Well, that one was
that the strike?
It's one of them, that. And then the other one was no training camp because they didn't have his contract.
Right.
He signed his contract on a Monday night, and a Monday in the day. They played a Monday night game that night. I forgot who they played against. And Howard Cosell was our guy back then doing it. He said, well, they got the juices back. I don't know how much he'll play tonight because he didn't have any camp. So he's out here to play. Well, that night, I think he carried 30 times for 200 some yards. There's no guy that had a career like that in that 5-year span. That's that's crazy what he did.
Yeah,
so it's starting to say those things now, but I like to keep our stuff. We sports keep everything in context with guys that don't disregard them because of
what happened off the. I know there was, like I said, off the field.
They did that the same thing with Mark McGuire and Sosa and all those guys. Barry Bonds. Mark McGuire was a guy that you seen him come up to the plate. You didn't want to see Mark McGuire.
No.
You didn't want to see that guy coming to the plate.
Like I said. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like when you look, like I said, the only problem you have with baseball is they did have the steroids and you got into their records being in question. OJ, there's no question in his records.
Oh, yeah. No.
OJ's records were,
right.
He was, like I said, the juice. The electric company was the offensive line and the juice.
Right.
And we remember watching him as still.
And I get it if they want to question those records in baseball, but they almost question their ability.
No, their ability was there. I mean, the record, I guess the only question you have, Bonds to me would have been a Hall of Famer regardless of the roids. I'm not sure about Sosa. And they probably would have been Hall of Famers too, but not first ballots.
No.
Bonds would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer had there not been any roids involved. Because he was a great hitter.
Yeah, he was already at where he needed to be.
Yeah, he was a great hitter anyway.
Yeah.
And they were, I mean, I know people get upset, but baseball was, better.
They encouraged that. It was.
Oh, well, they
wanted it.
They encouraged it.
Yeah, they seen that
because of the strike history. 95, the strike were the first and only time washed out the World Series in baseball in 95. And 94, because 95 Atlanta beat Cleveland in the World Series. But the 94 World Series was washed out. So they needed to do something to get baseball back.
Yeah.
And Selig and all those guys knew those guys were doing roids and turned the blind eye, because the home runs that year, 98, with Sosa and McGuire going back at it, brought baseball back and made it like everybody loved baseball then. And they forgot about the strike. So, and baseball knew that they had to do something, so they turned the blind eye. People believe this, that they didn't do anything about it.
And I do believe that.
And I do too. Yeah. And then they got religion 3 or 4 years later. And then they decided, well, we have to clean up the sport, after they knew that it was, everybody, not everybody, but players were taking performance
and the reason I thought it was like that is the one time when that report came out that they're investigating Mark McGuire because they opened his locker up.
Yeah, and so and it was Andro, whatever the stuff, Andro,
Yeah, so if Mark McGuire is not stupid.
No.
So if it was a problem, he would have been hiding it in our favorite gym bags. And would he have that in his locker? No, he didn't care because they didn't care.
Well, that was legal too. The drug he took at the time was okay to take.
Right.
And then they banned it later. Yeah. But it was legal. It was okay to take it.
Yeah.
Andro Dostrystine or something.
Yeah.
I know it was Andro something. Don't hold me to the exact name, but bottom line is,
that is so funny.
Baseball had to do something to get it back.
And then they alienated those guys once they got back on track, got the people back in the seats and on the TV and getting that money flowing. Boy, did they got rid of them guys then. They did. They needed them for what they needed them for. And they got what they wanted to get back on track.
Because they needed to get it back.
Yeah, because it was bad. People
People were not going.
Yep.
The strike almost came close to, I think, ruining the game in 94.
Yeah.
And had trouble getting the general population back into the seats.
Remember how big they wasn't even going back? We had some empty stadiums.
A lot of empty stadiums back in 95 after the players came back. And fans just didn't care. They were really turned off by the night. And people were upset because they canceled the 94 series, World Series, which had never been done.
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to happen either.
No, 1903 is when was the first World Series that because the American League was formed. They played the National League in 1903. So all those years, and only once did they not play a World Series. Over basically millions of dollars.
Yeah. Right.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. First quarter in the books. We'll be back after this quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
So why do teenagers play high school sports?
My reason why is a sense of purpose.
My reason why is to inspire others.
One reason student athletes seldom mention is to get an athletic scholarship. They know that only 2% of all high school athletes are awarded a sports scholarship. So why do they play?
My reason why is friendship.
Tell us your reason using the hashtag #MyReasonWhy.
This message presented by the NFHS and the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
Saturday morning sports page. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, coming back at you. We're talking a little bit about NFL strikes. 1974, there was a strike, but that was before the season started. 2 months before, and then they didn't lose any games in 74, but they lost the preseason, at least all the preseason stuff for 2 months. And then 82 was a bad strike because they lost 8 games. I remember 8-week strike. I remember that well. And then 87 was the replacement players, and they lost a game. Right. And I did go to I was talking off air. I did get to see the 1987. I was in Seattle back when I was working for business, and went a friend and I, a guy that I was working with, said, let's take a game in. We took Seattle Seahawks taking on the Bengals, and it was the scab guys, the players. We didn't even know it was a great game. That was the best part. We didn't even know, but it was a close game. I think the Bengals win 22-21, but it was like right to the end of the game. It was close. I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, those guys look good. They were like good players.
Yeah. And all it is those guys are just on the fringe of making it.
We get into this conversation all the time on the show that you watch like the guys that are not NFL, but the talent is good. The quality game is good because you got good players.
Right.
They're just not quite at NFL level, but they're a notch below.
Yeah, just there. It's just need the right break.
Right.
Be in the right situation. And sometimes those guys can filtrate right in.
Right.
Yeah.
Like years you played for the USFL. I always said there wasn't a big difference.
No.
I still believe that there were players in the USFL that were NFL guys, but just for whatever reason, didn't make a roster.
Yeah.
But what was funny is once the USFL broke up, all the players that the NFL took.
Yeah, they took a lot
of players off the USFL rosters. Guys look at this and great. We need, this is just what we needed. So
and a lot of them are in gold jackets too.
Yes, and there are. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. I mean, we knew about the Kellys and the guys of that nature, but you look at people like Mills.
Yeah.
At linebacker, to be able to go and get in the Hall of Fame, those guys weren't thought of. They didn't get drafted.
No.
But those players, that's all. Just need that opportunity. That was a great league to get them ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you have some great players, USFL, like Irv Eatman, who played for UCLA, actually was the USFL, and then he went over and played for Kansas City, went to the USFL.
Yeah, and Irv Eatman was
he
was a terror in college.
Yes, he was. He was a defensive player,
and couldn't be blocked.
No, he could not. And I remember
that's a monster.
And I remember going to a game at Ohio State. I'll never forget the game because I still think to this day he was Art Sleester's worst nightmare because he was basically. That game, and they beat Ohio State. I think they shut him out. I'll look up the game, but he was absolutely unblockable, and he was in the backfield. He was literally in the backfield against Ohio State.
Yeah.
That whole game.
The guy, being able to be in the USFL, be at where the Stars was at, and then I got sent to Arizona, but I was able to see Irv Eatman, one of the biggest human beings I ever seen. The guy's so big, but until I seen Shaq, there's nobody.
No, I know.
I was able to get right next to him. It's like that's unreal. That's not real.
Yeah, I know.
He played for the Cavs at the end. I said, this is a real live person. That doesn't make no sense for nobody to be that big. No. And you think, well, if he's that big, he's all fat and
no.
This guy's enormous. I said that don't make any sense.
Guy. Irv Eatman, the game I referred to looked it up, October 4th of 1980. UCLA played at Ohio Stadium, and they shut out Ohio State 17-0, and Irv Eatman was in the backfield like the whole time, chasing Art Schlichter. Art Schlichter probably has nightmares thinking of Irv Eatman was coming to get him because Irv Eatman just ran him. He just chased him, sacked him. He was an unbelievable defensive. I think he's D-tackle. He's just unbelievable player. I mean, just strong, big, but quick. Mm-hmm. See, always amazed me with Irv was he's so quick for being that size. He was cat-like quick coming off that line. I know he was an offensive line, and he was very good offensive line.
Yeah.
Maybe an argument to
made some all-pro teams.
Made all-pro teams. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? Maybe, probably. Who knows? But he was a great but he was an unbelievable defensive player.
Which surprised me so much when he came.
Right.
Not even to the NFL. When he went to USFL, they changed him to
They changed him overnight.
And I was like, what? What are you doing? That guy's
He was an absolute terror defensive side of the ball. I got to see him in person live. And I thought this, I didn't understand why they made him an offensive lineman.
See, but they know.
They know. I mean, he was a good, believe me, Irv was a great offensive lineman too, but he would have been either one. He would have been a great defensive lineman. Because man, he was an absolute terror.
Yep, I agree.
Just an unbelievable ball player, and like I said, you talk about he was a USFL guy. The league folded right over to the NFL, and there were a lot of great USFL players that ended up having very good careers, if not great careers, over on the NFL side once the USFL folded.
Right,
and it sadly folded. We won't go into that. But bottom line is you had great players, and it gets back to our premises when you're talking about players, just scab players back in 87, that's what they called them. Mm-hmm. Those replacement players, some of those guys are really good football players.
Right.
And maybe they just weren't quite good enough to get in an NFL roster. But like I said, I went to a game. I thought it was a pretty good game. Seattle and the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe the Bengals pulled it out, but it was a nail biter. And after a while, you're watching the game, and I'll be honest with you, it never crossed my mind. Oh, these are replacement guys. These guys are playing pretty good. Yeah. I didn't know the names, but I just was watching the game. It was a good game.
Yeah. Yep. And, once they put those helmets
on.
Once
you put the helmets on, the pads, the uniforms.
Yeah, all you see is Seattle and Cincinnati.
Right. I just saw Seattle and Cincinnati going at it.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what happens, and that's how you can really, it's just the familiarity of the names make you think, well, that's not them. But if you didn't know any names, they just had guys go out there in uniform, you just think that's who they are. That's the team.
And that's the best part.
Yep. It was, that's why I always think it's a place, for those leagues. I think that it actually is a benefit to the NFL to have these guys still perform. Because see, some of these guys just, sometimes they don't hit their stride until later in life. And if they stop right after college and don't have an opportunity to play, well, they might not ever hit that potential, but being able to get the reputations in, to continue playing, all of a sudden it's like a clock in the body, the mind, and everything go off. And now these guys are at the level they need to be at. And that's why I always thought it was good to have this type of league. Either you have I even thought when they had what was it called? Not the World Football League, but the World. Well, it's world football.
There was the XFL.
But no, the one that was connected to the NFL. You know, they used to play
that was
Frankfurt.
the European.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the European. That was the European league. They had Barcelona, Frankfurt, and they had all those
They should. I mean, it stayed around for a while, but then just the money wise, I guess the NFL said no. They have the money to do it, but they had no. We need all of it. I guess it's the greedy people and what they do have keep it all in there. But I thought that was perfect. You know, that's the thing they kept think about. It kept Kurt Warner able to play and stay on top because there was no USFL then. So either you go to the Canadian or you get this and get the repetition. He's a guy in a gold jacket because he went and played. I think he played for Frankfurt or somebody up there. And look what happened to Kurt Warner. So I mean I always thought it's a place for those leagues. They need to have that. They definitely need to have it. And I know they've been complaining this year so far that I think it's not getting the TV ratings that it got last year. Right now, the UFL.
Oh, okay.
The last year's ratings was really good. So far this year it hasn't been. Now maybe to get better as they keep going, but you hate to see it all of a sudden fold again.
Yeah, please.
And then somebody would be like, "Forget it, we'll never go in it." But they need those leagues. I'm telling you, these players. These guys are right at the fringe of being NFL players, and some of them already done left the XFL and USFL, the newer ones before it became one league, and went on. They're playing in the NFL.
No, they need the league.
They need it.
They need, I think,
just to develop these guys.
They need to develop the players, and also the country needs spring football.
Yeah, because it is. I mean, it's a honest. I don't care how. If you really are a diehard football guy, you might like other sports, but it doesn't satisfy the thirst. And you got to have your mind right. Remember, this is not the NFL.
No, but you still want to watch
something to satisfy you watching football,
right?
And if you're like that, it can be satisfying to you,
right?
Till the NFL comes back on,
right?
Yep. In college, and definitely in college because you love watching that also.
No, you do. Mm-hmm. College is great. Yeah. The game that I referred to is actually October 11th of 1987. The Bengals did beat Seattle 17-10 in the Kingdome. The NFL only lost 1 week that year. The week of September 27th was canceled due to the strike. Then the replacement players came on, and then they just resumed the season.
And they played about 4 weeks somewhere in there.
Yeah, I believe they played 4 weeks. Let's see. It was 24-day player strike. They reduced the 16-game season to 15. The games were scheduled for the third week were canceled, but the weeks from 4 to 6 were with replacement players. That's 3 weeks with replacement players. 85% of the veteran players did not cross the picket lines during the strike. Then they said putting in question the integrity of the 87 season results because that was 4, 5, and 6, 3 games. But, now this says the teams fielded by NFL clubs bore little resemblance to those fans that had come to recognize from previous seasons. Some fans said tag the replacement player teams with mock names as the Seattle Sea Scabs. That was probably the guy that was yelling at me when I went into me and my friend were going into the game, and some guy came up to me and he reminded me of Archie Bunker. He did. He did. He looked like he did. He came up to me and he was yelling at me. And he said about my future, if I was something to do with going into that game was jeopardizing my future. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? And I go, I got this guy, looks like Archie Bunker, yelling at me about my future. Yeah. I'm going to a football game, which I'm getting a good deal. I only paid $10 for these tickets. And it's like, these look like great seats. Yeah. And I saw a great game.
And then you're just trying to find something to do.
Right. That was what we said.
Yeah.
We were out on business. We were 2 weeks. We had the week over and the guy goes, what do you want to do? I said, I know there's a strike out, but let's go check out. We wanted to check out the Superdome, Seattle Super, where they played.
Right.
So we wanted to check it out, the Dome. So I said, well, let's see if we can get into the game. Like we wanted to just go and check it out. Then we said, well, let's see if there's tickets. Oh my gosh, yeah, there were tickets.
Right.
And then great tickets. They were cheap.
And you just went on in the game.
I just went into the game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I got this guy yelling at me. I'm going, who is this person?
I mean, and then to say you ruin your life, you're going to ruin your life.
Yeah, what do you mean?
I mean, sit me down and explain that one to me.
Yeah.
I mean, how am I going to ruin my life?
Right. It had something to do with, these guys were just the scab players. But I thought to myself, so what? I mean, it didn't matter. I mean, and then it's like, and I always looked at it. Look, I love watching pro sports. I don't get really well with the strikes. Look, you got millionaires and billionaires. They need to figure it out. There should be no strikes. I'm sorry. There's way too much money tied up here, people.
Right. It should never ever be.
No, there should never be any strikes because the reality is, I mean, these are professional athletes, but they have a job they love to do and get paid a lot of money. They're not the average person out there.
Right.
Trying to pay bills, kids in college, juggling, payments.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah. Right.
Trying to make sure they get bills paid on time.
Right.
Food on the table for
yeah.
Paying insurance, paying this, paying that. No. They've got a different lifestyle altogether. They get a lot of money. They're doing something they love to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really working. They have what's that saying? If you have a job you love to do, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
But the point is, bottom line is that's why I get when they go, well, who do you side with, the players or the owners? I don't side with either one. I think they're both idiots. They should need to figure it out and play because they're entertaining and it's entertainment. And you're quibbling over millions and billions and percentages.
Mm-hmm.
The average person they don't understand that.
Right.
So
Right.
Get on the field and play.
I mean, that's what they should be doing. I mean, it should never be any strike. I agree because there's so much.
There's
money
so
to be
much
had.
money.
Come on, what you doing?
Involved. I mean, they talk about baseball a year from now when their contract is up. There'll probably be a strike because the owners want to put in a hard cap.
Mm-hmm.
And the players don't want it. So they think there's probably going to be potential walkout and they may lose games. And they're not going to play because the players do not want a salary cap.
Yeah, well, they don't because they would get these.
They've never had one.
Right. They don't want to even be put in that category.
No.
But this stuff needs to be under control.
But the problem with baseball is we see this every year. You take 10 teams and just cross them off. They're not in it.
Right.
They have no chance every year.
Yeah.
Because the Pittsburgh Pirates and Kansas City.
I mean, Kansas
City played good, but you have the bottom feeders. Those teams historically are not going to be competing on any level.
Right.
And if they get into the playoffs, they're lucky, but they won't be there for long.
And it's just you got as a fan, a future of just futility.
Right.
I'm not going to win.
No.
I'm just yelling and rooting for a team that's never going to be there. That got to be so tiring to see that year in and year out.
Like you take Pittsburgh Pirate fans. They must go. They know they're not going to, they know they're going to be out of it.
Pirate days of yesteryear ever like that. That'll never be like that again.
No,
not the way it is now.
Willie Stargell and Al Oliver days are
not coming.
Never going to come back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep. That's not going to happen. And I look at just the money that comes in LA compared. I just take another California team, San Diego. And even though they win,
they do win.
They do win.
And they spend a lot of money.
They start to spend money, but they wasn't before.
No.
I've seen when they said, wait, we got to try to, they still actually money-wise can't compete with the LA Dodgers. You can just forget it,
Well, and I think that's the key. The key is if the Dodgers win it this year going away, they are by far, the highest payroll. And they, you can make the argument they've bought this pennant.
Right.
But the Yankees bought the pennant in 2009. They went out and paid for Sabathia Teixeira and put that team together with money.
Oh, yeah. They had money. I mean,
they had money, and where they were talking about those teams, like if the problem is if the Yankees blow it on a free agent, they have enough money they can recover. They just pay money to another free agent.
Yeah.
But if you have a Cleveland or a Pittsburgh blow it on a free agent, it's devastating because they don't have the money to recover.
Right. Yes.
So the argument with baseball is you've got to make it more of an even playing field with these teams. And I just don't ever see that happening.
That's why it's hard I can't get into it because you can't, everybody's going to pick, well, that's my team, the Dodgers, the Yankees, whoever. That's because those are the teams that's going to continue winning.
Right.
And it's just, like you said, there's no more Stargell, there's no more Pete Rose and Johnny Bench coming out for the
Cincinnati
Reds.
Right.
It's not happening. So it's just not like it used to be. But that's why NFL is so good because, really now I look at teams like people say, well, look how Cleveland can't do what they should. Well, that's just an organization that's been doing some idiotic stuff. That's why. Or the Jets.
Oh, yeah.
It's the organization.
Right.
It's not the setup of the league because the league is set up for you to be able to compete.
Everybody in the league
has a chance.
Yeah. That's what makes the NFL head and shoulders really above the other sports because they have the ability, one team can turn it around in just 1 year. They can be a loser, but they hit the draft. They got a couple free agents.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's the front office when a team can't stay. I am not saying got to win the championship, but when they can't stay competitive, one time they may step up, and then 8 more seasons of futility, then another season, and that's something within the organization because the league is set up for them to be able to have an opportunity, So when I see that long stretches, it's something going on. That's why I look at, I guess I get against my former team that I used to love as a kid, the Dallas Cowboys. They got all the money. Everything is set up for them. What team comes on Monday Night Football or prime time more than any team in the NFL? The Dallas Cowboys. Money flowing. But why aren't they winning? Why aren't they winning at the clip that they should be? Let me put it like that. They have winning records, but we 30 years.
30 years since they made it to a conference final. Right. The last conference final, they beat the 49ers and won the Super Bowl, 1995 season. They won the 96 Super Bowl over Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
So bottom line is that's 30 years.
There's no way that should happen to the Dallas
Cowboys. They had not only didn't make a Super Bowl, they even back to the conference finals in that time frame.
And for a long period of time, it might have been at least 20 years or so, they didn't even win it might have been more than that. They didn't even win a playoff game. I think they got back did they get back to a playoff and then lose on the first round? I don't know if they even got back in.
We have to do a little research.
How long it took. These guys would lose the first outing. That should not be happening to a team that has so much the ability to get players that they need to. People want to come to Dallas. I think they're I don't know if they're tax free. I can't remember. Down in Dallas. But isn't it?
State, they don't have a state tax.
So it's all kinds of things that's set up.
Oh no, there's players. There were players that have gone to play for teams in Texas versus New York or California based on the state tax, because the state tax in New York and California is substantial.
Right.
But in Florida and in Dallas or in Texas, Florida, they don't have the state tax. So players have actually calculated that out as far as when they're negotiating salaries, which they should do, but they just have gone to show that it's more money-wise. They keep more money in their pockets.
Right.
If you're playing for a team in Texas,
right.
Either Houston or Dallas or San Antonio if it's basketball. But the point is, In Florida, it's the same way.
Yeah.
You're playing Miami or you're playing for Tampa, you know,
Jacksonville and all
Jacksonville, all those teams down there, you're going to keep more of your money, and you're not paying a significant. And New York and I think California, I can look it up, but I know they have significant state taxes in those states.
See, it's just that I just don't understand it. So, you know, I always looked at the Raiders organization. People love the iconic Raiders organization, but as Al got older and started losing touch, he did. I mean, just, you know, you got to admit, I mean, it's just some things that these happen when you get older. You know, the Alzheimer's, dementia, the different things that sometimes happens to people. He just didn't have the same, because that was one smart guy. As far as football is concerned, as far as players, organization, everything. That's why they was a winning organization. But as he got older, you seen those things. He didn't have anybody in place to actually keep that going.
Yeah, sadly, Al was kind of toward the end there.
He was.
He wasn't quite as.
No, he wasn't himself, and he wasn't going to admit to that. Hey, I know. You know, as an older guy who's stubborn. Nope. But he had lost touch, and that's the thing. And the Raiders organization went down. So hopefully, with these people they got in place now, that they can keep some things going in the right direction, because that's really what it is. But baseball, I used to love watching baseball. But now I can't watch it. And we wait until the playoffs happen in the World Series, and we get into it a little bit. But it still goes down to what you said. When that time comes, it's the teams that we know.
It's the same teams that are always in the end.
And we know it's going to be them.
And I don't see them getting a salary cap with the union. I don't see that happening. And I don't know what's going to ultimately happen. Do they really get into a bad game of chicken where they're facing one another and nobody's budging? And
you imagine if a strike happens with the type of money they're making. If a strike happens now, it's going to be some problems.
Oh, millions, billions. The impact that would have.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it won't ever happen. I don't think you're ever going to get a salary cap. And I think they've maybe learned that especially now with money being what it is, the devastation of a strike and what it would really mean would be unbelievable. And I think even the players,
I guess we could say baseball is like what you said about the NCAA not getting a grip on the NIL. Well, it wasn't called NIL then. We just saying back then, if they had got a type of system together to give the players finance, they would have this under control, but they didn't get out in front of it.
No, they never did.
And that's the same thing with Major League Baseball. They never addressed that years ago, 20, 30, never
40,
addressed
50.
it. So it's not going to happen now.
Not going to happen now. Halftime is in the books. Got more to talk about. Look at the draft. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, Western Reserve Radio. Back after
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football. Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard or call 234-254-8532.
Saturday morning sports page coming back at you, 330-707-4202. Get in, talk sports. Yeah, Dave Clark, as we've got the NBA playoffs are here finally.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And it'll be very interesting with the way these teams are going to be laid out. I think you've got some really interesting matchups, but let's go ahead and let's see. Let's just start you want to give this a shot. Let's go with the Milwaukee and the Indiana series.
Oh, I'm gonna go Indiana. You want to know? We got to put down how many games?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, I guess we should probably try.
I'm thinking. Definitely taking Indiana. That got 7 games written all over it.
Yeah, I think
to a certain
I kind
extent.
of agree with you.
I'm gonna go with that one. I'm gonna go 7. I think Indiana pulls it out.
Yeah, I'll take. I like Indiana too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take. I take it in 7 too. I'll agree with you on it. I think that's going to be one of those series where it's just going to come down to. Let's slide over to the. Let's go with New York and Pistons.
Trying to look at it realistic, not look at it through just the Knicks' eyes. But I'm thinking I do feel that the Knicks should be able to pull it out. But that's another one. It should be 7. But this is one that I circled that I can see Detroit winning it though. But I'm just going to say I'm going to go with thinking the Knicks should win it. But I'm thinking that's another 7-game series.
Yeah, I'll take. I agree with you. I'll go Knicks, and I'll take the Knicks and say I'll take them in 6.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to be. Bottom line is, let's hit move. Let's go to Miami, Cleveland.
I'm gonna take Cleveland. I'm gonna take them in. I'm gonna actually take them in 5 because they need to go ahead and show why they had the best record in the Eastern Conference and do what they need to do and win this thing.
Okay. Yeah, you take Cleveland in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll take Cleveland in 6. I'll give Riley and Spoelstra another game there, which might be more difficult. It might be just tougher than thought. Let's go to Orlando and Boston.
Well, I'm just going to go by the landmark. It should be 4-0, and I'm going to just stay with that. Boston in 4, but you read off some very important statistics, how successful the Orlando Magic have been against the Boston Celtics in the last 3 seasons overall. They have a winning record against them. So I think you said 6-4. So that's an important factor for confidence level. But just is the playoffs. This is different than regular season. So I'm going to go with the clean sweep.
Yeah, I guess we're almost due for a sweep, you'd think. I'll take I'll take Boston in 5. Mm-hmm. I think Orlando will get a game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's slide over to the West real quick. You've got the let's start with Golden State and Houston. Why not?
This Golden State in 7.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take me too. I like Golden State, but I think that's got to be this is going to be a close 7-game series. Let's go LA Denver. This is another game that's got 7 games written all over it. I don't know. This is a flip. I think this could go either.
I know. Almost want to flip a coin.
Yeah, right. This would almost of all the series. I think this might be one of the closest of the group.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take Denver. Just plays so well during the
They do.
I don't know if all the turmoil gonna happen
with no coach. That's it.
That same voice that you always heard. So I'm gonna take the Clippers at 7.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like, as much as I like the Joker, but the Clippers always seem to come up short, but they are playing good.
Yeah.
If Kawhi stays healthy and plays.
Yeah, I mean, if you play playoff Kawhi, it's going to be interesting.
I'll take the Joker. I'll take Denver in 7.
Okay, yeah,
I'll go the other end of the coin.
Yeah, and I think it could go either way.
Could go either way. Let's do Memphis at OK City.
I'm looking for OKC to do what they need to do. I think in 6.
Yeah. I'll take them in 5. I'll take OK. And then obviously, that leaves us the where are we at? Let's see.
The Lakers.
Lakers, that's it. The Lakers and Minnesota.
I'm thinking LA should beat them. The Lakers should in 6.
Yeah, I'll take Lakers in 7. I think it'll be a close series. I think Minnesota will hang with them, but I think the Lakers and LeBron and Luka will win it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we'll see what happens from then on, and then we'll see what the next round will bring us once we get there. See how many we get right.
All right, let's do this. What do you think? Rodgers crying about the New York. Let's slide over to football.
Mm-hmm.
Upset that they make him fly cross country. Pretty much tell him in 15 minutes, you're not going to be the quarterback. He's like, well, you could have told me that over the phone. And evidently, the way he described this, how Aaron Glenn approached him, and do you want to play football? How Rodgers said, and Roger goes, yeah, of course, that's why I'm here. And evidently, I think the problem I have with the Jets is it goes back to the owner. when you fire your head coach 5 games into the season, that's not a recipe for success. Like I almost wanted to kind of tell Rodgers that's why did you go play for the Jets? Of all the teams out there, why did you go play for that team? Based on the history of that owner. Mm-hmm. And Rodgers didn't have a bad season.
No.
I believe he was 28 touchdowns, was it 11 interceptions?
Yeah. I don't even know if it might have been 11.
I'll look it up, but
I think it was low though.
It was low. I'll get the number. But the point is this. I could see Rodgers' point in this. But it's just, to me, is the New York Jets, when you don't have a kicker, you fire your owner 5 games into the season, that's not the recipe for success. You're not going to win a lot of games. Teams that fire the coaches in mid-season don't go on and get into the playoffs. I have to even look up, I'd like to know the last time a team fired their head coach in the middle of the season and went on and made it the playoffs. Yeah. I was thinking that the other day when I was just thinking about Aaron Rodgers and, the Jets, and the Jets fired Saleh 5 games in. And I think once you make that determination, like, why didn't Johnson fire the coach beginning of the season? Why wait 5 games to fire him and then you're basically bagging your season.
Yeah.
Like you're I don't care. You're mailing in the season when you make the decision to fire your head coach for whatever reason. You've just basically mailed in the season because teams don't recover from that.
Yeah.
Well, they don't go on to win a lot of games.
Yeah. I don't think you could fire him right before the season either.
No.
Because that's not going to be good too. You go through all OTAs, all the different things with one head coach, and then at the beginning of the season, you fire him. Now you got to, more than likely, you may bring in a new head coach, but probably the best way is just to go with an interim, a guy that's already in the system because you done went through OTAs. Try to keep things on an even keel. Can't bring in a new guy with different philosophy. It'd be really a train wreck. So you usually just keep the guys you have. And if you got a guy that's on the hot seat, but you're trying to give him a chance, and then I think you got to have some type of talk with him early in OTAs and set up a system where that's the head coach. You might have an assistant head coach on the staff. So if anything is not right, if you're not doing the proper job, then the transition can be easy when you have a guy that's an assistant head coach, and you can go ahead and transit. You don't have to change too many things. You just gotta. They're not listening to this guy. He done lost the locker room, but you probably should know that even before that. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Guys, be optimistic. Start that season off thinking I'm gonna be after 6 games. We should be about 4-2, but we're 1-5.
Right
and now I'm disgruntled. So I don't care if they get rid of the guy. And sometimes the teams can jump back and start winning, whether they get in the playoffs or not. That's something different. But just to see them progressing the way they need to would be an idea. But a lot of times, if you have some indecisiveness after the season, you didn't like how things went, forget about the hot seat. Bringing a guy back on the hot seat with the short lease, just get rid of him then. Give him the opportunity to go elsewhere, get you something that's going to get you on track, because you don't need a guy going into the season. We already know. All the public knows. All the media. So all the questions he's going to get is, are you feeling the pressure? You're on the hot seat. This, blah, blah. That's all he's going to hear. He's not going to be able to concentrate on his job like he should. So when you got a guy in that position, why take him after the season is over? You need to evaluate that thing and just make a change if that's what you're going to do. And if you're not, don't talk to the media saying this guy is on the hot seat or something like that. Because I just think that's a death note for a coach. When people already know, because the media is going to go, and we're part of the media. But those are the questions you're supposed to ask. How do you feel about going into the season? You got a short leash. You got to hear that over and over. You don't need that. You don't need it. And just from things I read, like I said, we're not there, but it just seems like it's always turmoil in the Jets organization. And it starts with Woody Johnson. Starts right from there.
The owner.
Yeah, sometimes it's not the coaches and other things. It's him. You know, he's got a lot of insight, and he's not a football guy per se. So really, if you're going to own the team and get the football guys and then allow them to be able to work some things out. That organization is something. That's the same thing I say with Dallas. I mean, even though it seems like Jerry's son tries to get involved a lot more, Stephen Jones, and say, hey, this is what we're going to do or whatever. But sometimes I don't know if he's still not, I don't want to phase his dad out, but being that voice for the Dallas Cowboys. But it seems like it always comes down to what Jerry wants. And sometimes what Jerry wants is not the right path.
No, it's not.
You know, and he, I mean, long time ago, he should, instead of getting upset about Jimmy winning everything, just allow Jimmy to stay there until Jimmy wanted to retire. And you
wonder how many Super Bowls they would have won.
I guarantee you, I think they would have won more.
Oh, definitely.
You know, they, like I said, they won with Barry, but they would have.
That was Jimmy's team.
Yeah, that was his team. And if he would have been still there, and at that time he still had that fire, he would have continued to bring and infuse more talent to continue winning. Whether they won Super Bowl year after year, maybe not. But I guarantee you, I really think they would have won 2 or 3 more with him.
Right.
But you get rid of him, and then the way you got rid of him wasn't a good look. Players were kind of disgruntled about that, and they have never been the same since. You never seen that grit. That's one thing Dallas had. They was the team with the star on the side, and everybody thought finesse and this. That was a physical team back then, and the mindset was completely different. That was a team to grind. And that's why they was that good. Now, that stuff be a joke now. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Talent is there sometimes, but I don't know. That guy don't listen to anybody. He does it his own
No, he's
way.
going to do his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely going to do his own thing.
Yep. So,
and he's not going to change.
No, I don't think he's not. So, you know, they have had the talent, and then they always getting somebody in controversial situations like right now. You see with Michael Parsons waiting for the contract. Then he's in a match with Dion. You see that also that's going on back and forth because he said something about Shador.
Right.
And it's the most Michael Parsons is nothing but listening to people what he hear on TV. Because his thing was getting on Shador too about patting the football. And when I watched that thing on NFL Network, and they said, well, let's see how many quarterbacks actually pat the football. And my goodness, I mean, everybody they showed, Mahomes, Rodgers, they even went back, Joe Montana, John Hadle.
Right. Brady.
It was just, I mean, they were showing all the way back. And when I think about it, as a kid, playing in the yard, if you were the quarterback, I remember I used to do that.
Everybody did.
You did that, didn't you? You going back.
Did.
You did this,
right? Everybody was always.
So where did we get that from? We just made it up in our head. No, that's from watching TV,
right?
And watching all the quarterbacks do that. That's what they do. So when they started showing Rodgers throwing the ball, it's not too many to go back like that, but they show you with both hands on the football up high and then release it. You don't see that. Those guys be going back, hold the ball one hand, doing whatever sometimes. Sometimes they keep their hand on it, but then when they get ready to pass it, they do pat it. Make sure they got good firm grip and they let it go. Right. It's just unbelievable. They're bringing up those Kirks. If you want to call it a thing that they shouldn't be doing, maybe it is something they shouldn't be doing, but they all do it. That's my thing.
Basically it. They all.
And that's what my argument on that side of it. It may not be something they should do, but all the quarterbacks have done it. So why would we bring that up about him now?
I think that the NFL, I don't know who's throwing the information out. A lot of it, I mean, fair amount of it is anti-Shador Sanders, I think. and I don't know if it's a situation where there's a team that really wants him, and they're the ones throwing out all this, we'll call it misinformation that's, if anything,
propaganda all over the place.
Detriment to Shedeur because they want him. So they're hoping he drops in the draft and they get him. But, like they talk about this, it's like, it's such a catch-22 here because if you're like the Giants and you're the Browns and you're these teams and you pass on Shedeur Sanders and he turns into the next Patrick Mahomes, you will be kicking yourselves for the end of time why we didn't draft him, why we listened to all these experts out there telling us all his deficiencies. And then I guess the other flip side is if you draft him high and he's a bust, which is worse? I guess here's the only question is if you were to rate these, what is worse for you to pass on a guy like Chicago passed on Mahomes and all those teams passed on Patrick Mahomes? You took Mitchell Trubisky, Chicago Bears, didn't work out. Is that worse? Or if you draft the guy and he doesn't work out, is that worse? And I guess that's always going to be the quandary is, but I always think that if you draft a player, they don't work out, usually your team's bad, you get to draft another one.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes, there's a risk, but you need, how bad do you need the quarterback is the question. I just think that historically, I think like Josh Allen, you think of the teams that passed on Josh Allen and look at the teams that passed on Lamar Jackson in that draft.
31 of them.
31 of them let him go.
Because he was 32.
He was 32, the Ravens. And I believe the Ravens traded up to get him.
Yeah, they got back in the first round.
They got back in the first round and picked him up. But I mean, look how far he dropped in the draft. Right. Dan Marino.
He was 20-something, right?
He was basically the last player in the draft in 83.
And that was on this past week. That again.
Was that on?
Yes, Elway to Marino.
Yeah, Elway to Marino.
Week. Yeah.
That may be one of the best 30 for 30s ever in my eye. I mean, I love that.
On this week
I could watch that.
It probably was a time. It may. I wonder if it's going to come on this week too because
it's
of
the draft.
Time. Yeah. I seen it. I was watching. I said, "Hey,
oh yeah!"
It was like 10 minutes in. I went on and watched the rest of it again because it really is good and interesting.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. I've watched that one over and over again, and I just like I can watch it. I have to try to watch it again because I haven't seen it in a while. But
yes,
of all the 30s for 30s, that's like my favorite.
Yeah,
one.
that is a really good one
because it's just the whole Tom Selleck's doing the voice, and he's very good at how he's doing it too, and then that the agent who represented Elway and Marino's on, he's on that, and he's kind of got the eyes when he's talking, they close a little bit, he's kind of got an old man type of guy, and he seems like he's like the neighbor, come on over, have coffee, and he can talk to you about a lot of stuff. Just that type of guy makes you easy, nice guy. And the owner, and he's that way. And he's like the way he just, went to the teams and it's fascinating because it shows you how screwed up that the Baltimore Colts to me were probably one of the worst run organizations. Now they got the Jets that they can blame the Jets.
Right.
But the Colts to me are just so bad. And in that 30 for 30 in 1983 with the draft with Elway, he was going to play for the Yankees. They're going to, draft him. And he said, I'm not playing for the Colts. He came out, the father came out and said, my son's not going to play for the Colts.
Right.
And then they draft him anyway. And it's like, well, what are they doing? And then Ernie Accorsi, who is their GM, who's very good, even he had better deals. Trade deals worked out for Elway in that. And that's the interesting part is just that whole dynamic with how he and like the Colts owner are just so bad.
Yeah, it is. And they have a lot to do with the failures or success of the team. So, yeah, that's why, I mean, this is the thing. Shedeur Sanders, I do like how Cleveland and the Giants did some things that take a lot of pressure off of themselves by getting the veteran quarterbacks. I give them that. And then if you're not really, and you got to be sold. Now, if you're not sold on a guy just because of what the media and other people are saying, then I don't think you need to be a scout, a GM. You don't need to be any of that if what other people are saying have anything to do with your thinking. If you think this is the guy for you, then I think you take him. If you think you need a quarterback and you think, I don't care if you got the guys in place, you still say, I think this guy could really do it, then take him, because this is the thing. Next year, they're saying that's supposed to be a better draft.
Supposedly, it's supposed to be a better QB
So you go
draft.
into this and try to see if you can get Shedeur. It doesn't work. You go at it again next year. I mean, that's how I would look at it. But I understand the situation both teams are in, the Giants and those in that organization, because if they make a bad screw up and the guy is not the guy, they're done. Barry's done, and so is Dable and his Shane.
Dable and Shane are gone.
Right. So they got to do the right thing here. And maybe you can get back in the first round if you want to do. And that's what I think they both should, if they got the ammunition, try to get back in there. And maybe you can get that guy later down the road, if everybody's going to be passing them. But I just think somebody's going to say, I think the Saints may go ahead and take a chance and do it if he's bypassed by these guys.
Well, rumor is, or at least the concept is, the Giants had Shedeur back in, and they also looked at Jalen Milroe and the Louisville quarterback, I believe.
Oh, Tyler Sloth.
Sloth, dude. Everybody thinks he might be the best of the lot. But the point is, people believe that the Giants are considering taking Shedeur because they may just use Russell as the bridge and let Shedeur play. And if they go 7-10 with Shedeur Sanders, but Shedeur's playing good and the team looks good, Dable and Shane will keep their jobs. But if they go 7-10 with Russell Wilson and they don't have a quarterback, they'll lose their job.
Yeah, that's
so
possible, yeah.
The concept is, if Shedeur could be our life save, he could be our savior. He could be the life jacket we need.
Yeah.
Because if Shedeur play and the team's playing very good with Shedeur, maybe we won't win. Maybe we're, like I said, 7-10, 8-9. But the team's like, we got the quarterback.
Right.
Next season's going to be better because Shedeur's our guy, and we found our guy. You don't want to fire Dable and Shane now that you have your quarterback in place. They'll keep them. But if they bounce around and they'll go 7-10 and look bad and they win, but there's no continuity in the team and it's just another bad season, then Mara will come in and say, we're going to fire him.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. We don't have a quarterback. I don't need Dable and Shane here. The team's been steadily on the downward trend. They made the playoffs the first year, but it's been sliding downward ever since. But if they've got the quarterback in play, it could be their safety line there.
Yeah,
we got to keep our job.
Right.
So Saturday Morning Sports Page back after a quick timeout. Fourth quarter coming up.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the right seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in. and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
If you want to stay on top of your health, one simple thing to do
is take the pledge to go and get screened for the cancers that might affect you.
So stand up to cancer and take the pledge at GetScreenedNow.org.
It only takes a minute to take care of yourself, and nothing rhymes with org.
Talk to your doctor about your health and screenings that are right for you.
Saturday morning sports page back at you. 330-707-4202. Dave Clark. Robert Irsay, the owner of the Colts, now his son, Jim Irsay, has taken over, inherited from his father, Robert.
Yeah. That's a train wreck.
Yeah. He assumed Robert took over the Colts in 72. That was the swap between he and Carroll Rosenblum, for those don't remember, it's a while ago. But Rosenblum had the Colts. Irsay, I believe, had the Rams, and they swapped out the franchise. And I'll get into the reason. But bottom line, that 1983 draft piece on the 30 for 30 is a must watch.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. It goes to show you the frustration Ernie Accorsi had, who was the GM for the Colts, because he had a deal worked out for Elway, and ultimately Irsay bagged it, and then Irsay did the trade with Denver.
Yeah.
And according to Irsay, or Corsi said, Irsay got a lot less than what I had. Like I had a better trade worked out with like other teams, and he just overrode me. He was the owner. And then I think he was real good friends with the owner of Denver, and they just kind of did it. Hey, what do you want? Kind of a phone call. And Irsay just basically pretty much handed Elway to Denver. I think they got the Hilton, who was the offensive guard out of Northwestern, went over to the Colts. Good player. Wasn't Elway, but he was a good lineman.
Right.
And
I remember that.
I just remember when it happened. And they didn't even televise the draft back then. That was the draft back in the 80s. Like I remember the 83 draft. I was working at the time and came home and flipped on ESPN to find out like when it happened. It wasn't even on TV.
No, it wasn't, because they used to just.
It wasn't televised.
Yeah, it just would come up.
It was
and
on
show
the
you
afternoon.
Little ticker thing.
Yeah, the ticker.
Yeah, that's.
You went home and saw who got what, but they didn't have like now. That was the other thing, talking about what the draft has evolved to.
Yeah. Oh, you should have seen they had the draft before that came on. The show before it was the making of the Cowboys.
Right.
So it showed the draft back then, their first draft. They were on the clock for 6.5 hours one time.
Yeah.
6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
And they said, and then they showed where guys went home. It was at night. The only person, I think the Green Bay Packers was the only one. Vince Lombardi, he left. It was only the Packers or somebody left because they had the draft, and they was drafting at like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah,
because they was waiting for somebody.
Like 18 rounds.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, and I said a person was on the clock for 6 hours. Yeah, teams that left, people went home, do different things. They come back because guys were on the clock all day long. There was no clock really. It's just whenever you got a hold
whenever you got
of
around to doing
what you're doing. Yep. That's unbelievable back then. Like, to see how structured and everything is now. Well, we know structure helps. Big time.
Like, here's an example. Bart Starr, Green Bay Packers, Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best ever, I think. Won 5 championships with the Packers. Okay.
All right.
He was drafted in the 17th round.
Yeah.
In 1956. He was the 200th pick overall. They had even like 17 rounds. Now, there were less teams and more rounds.
Right.
But still, it's just like to show you.
Deacon Jones was like that. He's in the double digits.
Deacon Jones.
I forgot. He might have been near that 17 round. He's back up in there. I know that.
Yeah. And here's another, this is where you get into these discussions with players and it blows you away. Okay. Deacon Jones might be one of the best defensive ends of all time, at least when people talk about, they rate him maybe the best deep end. But Deacon Jones went to South Carolina State and then transferred to Mississippi Valley State. Deacon Jones was drafted in 1961, 5 years after Bart Starr, but he was drafted in the 14th round, 186th pick. Like Deacon Jones was like, okay, let's try, let's pick this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much they knew about him, but they just figured, well, okay.
We'll just get him.
Let's get him and see what we have. And obviously, Deacon Jones went on to be, again, one of the best, if not the best, defensive ends of all time, or in the conversation of great players. But the point is, right, a lot of these guys were basically drafted. Starr and Deacon Jones were drafted 17th round and the 14th round.
Unbelievable back then.
Oh,
that many rounds.
That many rounds, though. That's how many rounds that they had back then.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's like you said. You bring up some of these great Hall of Famers,
right? But I want to see. I'm intrigued in this, and it's supposed to be a beautiful day on Thursday. But I still, even if I had to tape it in a while, I got to see this draft because if Shedeur, there's some people on social media making a lot of jokes saying, oh, if he doesn't go in the first, second, or third round, and if he doesn't, somebody's getting a steal. Because I still say you can't be that successful and just be a complete flop. He's not like a guy that comes in that don't want to learn.
No.
Either he just can't play it, doesn't have the arm strength or something, but I don't believe that either. Because the pro scouts now, when they went to his that showcase they had him, they said, well, he definitely has the arm strength to do all the throws.
That's
what you could see it anyway.
Well, Greg Cosell was on Colin Cowherd, I'm thinking over a month ago. And he was breaking, and he's very good to listen to because
he likes to do quarterbacks.
He loves the quarterbacks, what he really does. He knows those quarterbacks. And he was breaking Shedeur Sanders down. And, he was saying that, pretty much from what he said was he's a pretty good player. He said there are some mechanical issues that he had, but he says that's easy. It's coachable. It's like any deficiency Shedeur had, a good coach can fix it. But because, he said that, but his overall mechanics, everything was good. He was breaking it down how he does. But he said he was, he thought he was really pretty good quarterback and he thought he'd be a first round pick somewhere. But evidently now with all and there's people coming out, they seem to come out of the woodwork, all the misinformation you're getting in this day of the internet.
Yeah.
That with Shedeur, it's like, I think there's just to the point where we've talked about it a lot where teams talk themselves out of drafting players for whatever reason.
Right.
Shedeur Sanders has not played a game since January, whenever the bowl game was. All right, he hasn't played a game. He hasn't changed any. They've got so much. They know how many starts he has. They have all this information.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's almost like they have talked. All these teams that were talking about drafting him have now talked themselves out of drafting him. And I just think I have a feeling it's going to be like a recipe for for failure on the team's part, because he's going to fall to somebody.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And somebody's going to get it. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't know.
I'm almost rooting more for him now because of all the negative stuff.
Right.
You know, when you hear the things of, like I said, stupid things like patting the football, and then we can just go and put on a film and start watching some NFL quarterbacks. They all do it. It's just something they do. They're just trying to find things, like you said earlier, just find things to break them down. Is it misinformation people just doing on purpose? Or is this, you got so much time before the draft, you start just saying all kind of things. And once it gets that ball rolling on something, it just goes more and more and more. And so for the Browns and the Giants, like I said, if they didn't come together and say, hey, we really like Shador,
right,
and you're not sure of it, then I'm okay with you passing on him, because that would be me. If I don't feel it, that I don't think this is the guy, then why would I draft him just because of what people say to draft him or not to draft him? I got to feel that it's what I want. So, but if it's something you want and you allow people to talk you out of it, then you probably don't need that job anyway, because there shouldn't be anybody talking you out of something that could be a prized possession for you.
Right.
So, I mean, if you think that's the guy, then get him. If you don't think so, then don't. But I've always been concerned about Stefanski, because he's never had the opportunity to get his guy.
Right.
Whoever was his guy.
Yeah, his guy, because
because
Watson wasn't his guy.
No, neither was Baker. That was a different regime. That was
a whole different regime.
What our guy, what was his name? There was a coach then. Oh, I know he was at Cincinnati, and he was with the Raiders as an offensive coordinator. But his name escaped me right now. But you'll find it real quick. But I mean, that was his guy. He's the one to draft Baker Mayfield. So a lot of times coaches want a guy that is basically hitched to his wagon. And Stefanski,
Hugh Jackson.
He's never had a quarterback that was actually his guy. This is his chance. Yeah. Whether it's Shador, if he doesn't feel comfortable with him, maybe it is one of the other guys. Maybe it's a Jackson Dart. Maybe it's the guy from Louisville. I think you do. You want a guy that type of size, because the Browns have made the one big mistake back. They did take Baker, he was good, but they could have had Josh Allen. He looked like the perfect fit for them. Big, strong, playing bad weather. Now, I just didn't understand it. I said, okay, they need a big, strong quarterback who plays in bad weather. Now, if anybody ever seen, I'm a guy that stays up on Saturday. I done seen Wyoming a few times, and they were always playing in snowstorms,
right,
and everything. And I'm seeing Josh Allen just cutting that ball through that high winds and everything.
Yeah,
I mean, blizzards, just cutting it through.
Everything.
You don't think? I don't care if he wasn't accurate when he first came. Most guys is probably, you got to work on him anyway.
Right.
So why not get a guy with that size? Now we done seen what he's become in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And he could have been a Brown.
Right.
And they wouldn't even be thinking about they wouldn't even be in the position of drafting this early if he was their quarterback, because everything would have built around that, and they would have been.
They could have had Allen. They could have had Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
But I guess the only drawback to that is those players might not be as good because they're with the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, it could.
And the Browns
work
work against them. John Dorsey was the GM that drafted Baker Mayfield. But Baker wasn't a. But look at Baker with Tampa Bay.
He wasn't a bad quarter. And then John Dorsey doesn't have a reputation of being a bad GM. He has been.
No, he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, GM. He's been at Kansas City and different places. He's
actually a good. Yeah. He's a good guy. Football guy.
Right. So I don't have any problems with that. I just thought Josh Allen fitted the mold of a guy that's playing in cold weather,
right,
on that lake. He'd been a perfect. Still play on that lake. He's just in a different area, being in Buffalo. So he's on those Great Lake areas. So but that it's just now. What is the excuse? What they're going to do? So if they bypass, I'm sure they're going to get a quarterback. But
word is see, this is the same thing what the Giants are doing. The Giants had those quarterbacks come in because they're thinking about maybe Jalen Milroe or Shador would be available in the second round. If they think that they don't want to take a rumor.
They both are early in the second round too, right? The Browns are 33rd, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the Giants probably
The
right
Giants
after that.
are right after that.
Yeah. So those guys could drop to that.
They're thinking, the Giants' thinking is, we don't want to waste the third overall pick on a quarterback, on one of these quarterbacks, but maybe we'll pick another quarterback in the second round and we'll see who's the best one available. But we'll take either Hunter or we'll take Carter from Penn State.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting.
Travis Hunter, if he doesn't go to the Browns, but word is they think the Browns will take him.
Right. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. And if he doesn't, it'll be a flip flop. Abdul Carter go to the Browns.
Abdul Carter would be right,
and then Hunter be in New York.
It's going to be. I think the first pick is Cam Ward. Yeah, it's a no brainer unless somebody gets aggressive and trade up to get him, which doesn't look like to be the case. You never know. Then you're going to go to second round, and third round, and second pick, and it'll either be whoever the Browns pick. The Giants, like between Carter and Travis Hunter. So whatever they do, one team does the other.
Right.
Giants will pick Carter, even though they got two DNs, but they'll take him because he's the best player, and they'll fit him in. And they'll, and the same thing, Travis Hunter. But at least we're told, or at least word is, you think that the Browns are going to take Travis Hunter, and the Browns would take Carter, being number 3.
Yeah, and it's some crazy things going to happen. Something always happens. So I wouldn't even be surprised if the Rams, like they said, one if the Rams surprise everybody and take Shador if he's sitting there.
Oh, I think that was one mock draft had him that. Yeah.
Because they said he'd be a perfect bridge.
Oh, that's exactly
right
between right.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be perfect. And you have your quarterback that's already there, might play this year and another year. And then Shador take over with a mind like that. And
because Stafford, they're thinking Stafford's going to be another year and then move on. But this would be perfect bridge between bring Shador and let him sit the year under Matthew Stafford.
Yeah,
Stafford can run the team. It's a good team,
right?
So Shador's not going to a crappy team running for his life. So it's actually good.
Yeah, it's actually good for him. So the Saints, I still think it's going to be hard to get past them too. Now they got a dilemma though, because it's one of them big time offensive linemen slide. They already got their lineman retired, all pro lineman that they had, and he's fairly kind of younger. So he only played 8 NFL seasons. He's retired. So now they have to get that offensive line together, but you definitely want a quarterback too. So,
well, here's a quick mock, and now this is an interesting mock. I just got it off NFL. Is you've got Cam Ward 2, 1, Travis Hunter. The Giants take Abdul Carter. Patriots get Ashton Genty. 4.
Yeah, I thought I seen that somewhere.
Yeah, and then the Jags will take Mason Graham out of Michigan. But here's one. The Raiders take Shador Sanders. We go, why would they do that? Gino's new deal includes no guaranteed money after 2026.
Yeah, I seen
for
that.
over the cap, potentially giving the team an out.
Yep.
So there and goes your other decision.
That's why I know something funny is going to happen.
Right.
Yep, for sure.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing?
Hey, Irish Mike, how's it going? How is the thing? Can you hear? You said this
much better. Yeah, much better.
Much better. Okay.
A quick question for you.
Yes.
One of the Browns insiders, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, proposed this trade. I want to get your and Dave's thoughts on this. Okay. This is a proposed trade that he's heard about. Now, whether all rumors at this point in time, nothing substantial, but the Cleveland Browns would send their number 2 pick to the New Orleans Saints.
Right.
And the Browns would receive New Orleans' 9th pick, which is 7 picks later.
Yep.
Their 40th pick, which is a second rounder, mid-second rounder. The 71st pick, which is a third rounder. The 93rd pick, which is a fourth rounder, and also a 2026 first round draft pick. So
wow.
all total, they would get 5 picks back for that pick. 9th pick the 40th pick, the 71st pick, the 93rd pick, and the number 1 pick in 2026. Do you do that if you're the Cleveland Browns? Yeah or nay?
Yeah, I would.
Especially if you're not sold on you're going to get the quarterback.
If you're not take right.
Yeah, you might get dropped there. You're going to still get a top flight.
You might get Jackson Dart.
Yeah. Well, if you go to 9th, I mean, he'll be there more. He probably should be there. But you got if you want to address your running back position, you might get Hampton or somebody that's still available at 9.
And then the first round next.
Yeah.
I would.
And then you're picking up those other rounds plus your own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
you're
own.
dropping back 7 spots and picking up 4 other additional picks, right?
Yeah.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
And what is it? 4 of them this year, right?
A lot of picks already, Dave, but now you could use those extra picks to move up and down rounds that you like guys at, right? You can move up 15, 20 spots if there's a guy that you really covet.
Oh, yeah.
Throughout the draft.
Yep.
Round 1 through 7, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You could do all kinds of things.
Right. And
you can move out of the second round and then move back up in there with all those picks. You might get back up up real close again.
Well, it would be interesting to see the team doing that, who they would pick at number 2 then. You know, like the team that would make that to get to the number 2 spot in the draft.
Well, I think with that being the Saints and now needing a quarterback,
Saints, right? Yeah, you said
they probably would say, "Hey, Albert, we'll take Shador because we're
that's
looking
what I
for."
would think.
Yeah,
that's what they would do.
They won't even worry about any of that. The Giants.
I don't think they would do that to get Travis Hunter. I think they would do it to get that would have to be to get Shador Sanders.
Yeah, I would think it would be that.
think.
Oh yeah, I would think it would
Let
be
me
that.
ask you this, Pat, on the flip side, if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, do you feel like you're giving up too much there? If you were a Saints fan.
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you what it is. Here's the deal. If Shador ends up being your great star quarterback and ends up being great, you're going to say, no, it worked.
Right.
But if he's a bust, we gave up too much.
Yeah. But there's something that's going to say it,
That's the problem. The problem is you won't know
until later. But what is your idea now? That's what we want. What would you do? It'd be hard to give up all that.
That's a lot to give up.
A lot of assets.
I would think that's a little lot to give up. I don't know if I would do that.
Too, guys. When I read as a Browns fan, I'm like, my first thought, but the Browns front office would be crazy not to do that.
Oh yeah, if somebody's going to offer them all that, it'd be hard to pass on that one.
Correct.
Because I know I got enough if I really want to, and I'm not the guy that I might be getting. I can still get him at the 3rd or 4th pick. I can try to get back to the 3rd pick with some of those picks they got to get to where the Giants is at or where the Patriots is at.
Yeah.
If it's somebody you say, I got to get them, and that'd be Carter or Travis. We know we want either one, so I'm going to use that assets to get back in there.
Well, right now this mock draft has Saints taking Jackson Dart as a quarterback at number, and this also has Shador going to the Raiders, saying that's why Gino's new deal has no money after 2026. So that goes back to Shador's relationship with Tom Brady. And then he would still learn under Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly.
Now you know who Shador was training with for a while, right? I'm sure the Irish Mike probably done seen that. He was with Geno Smith.
Yeah, he was
training with him. I guess it was about a month ago. Right. He was training with him out in California.
See, that's why,
which was something, isn't he?
But
that's after he got traded to the Raiders. He was training with him.
So I think. I still am not 100%. See, if I'm the Raiders, they keep saying they're going to take Genti.
Yeah.
But I'm the Raiders, and I know you need a running back, but if you can get Shador Sanders, I would take him, and then I would you're going to get a running back in the 2nd round. I mean, you're going to get a good running back.
Yeah, they can.
I mean, now they were saying with Genti that he doesn't catch the ball that much out of the backfield. I heard one analyst break it down and said he's a great runner, but they really didn't see him, where then I'm thinking, well, yeah, but Trevion Henderson for the Buckeyes, if you're going to pick a running back.
Well, I know early drafts had the Raiders taking Henderson in the 2nd round.
Right, 2nd round.
Yeah, and even had them take him in the 1st round by getting back up and getting them late.
Getting
in the
late
late part of the 1st round. So, I mean, there'll be a back there. Sometimes this, they look at it, as they call them, generational talent. They wonder about passing on a guy like that. as a running back or receiver, whatever generational talent it is. They don't want to really pass on a guy like this. I don't know.
Running backs have the position has been devalued. That's why I don't know if I would pick a running back in the first round. I depending on what my team needs. I would look at other, but like if you're the Raiders, I think that is. See, I think I'm a Giant fan. I want the Giants draft. I want them to draft Sanders. I don't know if they will, but I think they should with the third pick.
Yeah,
they should.
Well, you mentioned that Pat being flexible as a running back. Notre Dame played their spring football game last week. They're still practicing now because of the long season. So they'll finish up practices on Wednesday, and the portal closes next Friday. But Jeremiah Love did not play in the spring game last week, nor should he. I mean, obviously. And he'll be a junior in the fall, and we all know he's not coming back for a senior year in 2026. He's been practicing a lot out of the slot as well, Pat, besides playing running back, because he wants to show teams what you just with the pass-bearing offense that if I'm not lined up a running back, I can run out of slot and catch the ball in the backfield too.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, making yourself more marketable as a player?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they want to know that you can catch the ball.
Yeah, because in this pass-happy league.
Right.
Yes.
It's just not anymore where it's 3 yards in the cloud of dust, really. It's a passing.
See, they didn't throw a lot to Genty, but they did say at the combine, they had him catching the football, and he was just as smooth as ever catching the ball. So
again,
he's just an athlete, though. So he's just
an athlete. I think they feel
he probably can adapt. But you got to look at the success of some running backs, like Bijan Robinson. He helped Atlanta come up.
Yeah, he did.
And so did Gibbs going to Detroit.
Sure, he did.
And it's right up. These guys change.
Yeah,
correct. It's hard to let a guy go if you think he's got that kind of talent. You got to get him when you got a chance.
Even though they only have a career span of 3 to 4 years, but they can be a big difference maker if they're successful.
Yep.
Take a lot of pressure off your quarterback.
And if you use them like they have been, they can last a lot longer because it looks like most teams are going with the dual backs now. They have two backs. And it's smart.
4 or 5 years ago, Dave, Ezekiel Elliott was one of the top 3 running backs in the league. Now he's 29, pushing 30 this summer, and he can't find a team that wants him right now. He's honest.
Yeah, well, he's just actually a shell of the guy that was early on in Dallas. A shell. He doesn't run with that same authority.
There's only so many carries in that body, and eventually you're going to start to break down.
And that's what it was. You look at it, he really was the guy that carried the football. In those days, it's over with that. That's why you got to have 2. That's why I love Detroit's way they use their guys back there, because both of those backs are good and they get ample carries and throws to them and keeps them fresh. Because those guys would be worn out if they was an everyday back. Every down, be tough. It'd be tough. Today's game is a big difference.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
The game has really evolved.
Yep.
A lot in the NFL. Even you can look at the other sports too.
Right.
Not the same. Okay. Thanks, Irish Mike, for the call.
Hey, gentlemen, thanks for taking the call. Happy Easter to you and your family.
Happy Easter
same to you. And watch that draft on Thursday.
Yeah. NBA, happy Easter to everybody out there. Enjoy the holiday. Do not drink and do not drive. Stay sober and buckle up. Saturday Morning Sports Page, Pat Lucia and Dave Clark.
Your home for PAFL football is the iMedia One Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast, Youngstown, Ohio.
A numbers game with Gil Alexander. Weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Dave Ross and Jensen Lewis bring you VSiN by the Books, the show that breaks down the biggest stories in sports betting from the night before and gets you up to speed as a new day begins.
What did I tell you a couple weeks ago? Debt taxes and Nikola Jokic just roll over the triple-double.
If there's one kryptonite for Superman, it's the putter.
Start your day with all the crucial information you need to become a sharper bettor. Check out VSiN by the Books, weekdays at 7 a.m. Eastern on VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Welcome to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.